guys. I am Kim Kral. I am reporting to you not live from my closet. And I have the door open with a fan coming in. So it's like, and it's July and it's like not 105 degrees where I'm at. Knock on wood, knock on wood. God damn it, knock on wood. I'm so freaked out. Every time summer every year gets like pushed further and further, which means it's going to be hotter and hotter, longer and longer. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like, my cat is really freaking me out. I've started this like 4 times. He just did a thing where he was like staring at me with his mouth open, and then I couldn't tell if he was panting. And the last time he was panting, we went to the ER and our whole lives changed. But he's not. He seems to just be, I don't know. The stress on my brain right now is level 45. I don't know if that makes it. 45 is high, I think. I don't know. But I have the door open and I'm petting him while I'm doing this. And you'll be able to see it on YouTube because, guys, I'm almost all caught up. I have like 2 episodes. That includes today getting on YouTube. I will never again not be caught up on that. It took, it was like 12 episodes and it took me like 2 weeks, like a lot, because it's just technology and we're learning. The job I applied for last week that I interviewed, I had my second interview 2 days ago and I was offered the job. I am having a lot of feelings around it. And I feel a little bit better in this moment. I feel better. I just, a lot of feelings around it. The interview was interesting and I don't want to talk too much about it yet, just because I want to see how this goes. And I don't know, the guy who interviewed me, I wonder if he'll listen to the podcast to see. He asked me a lot of like, the guy that interviewed me was sort of a lot like Tom Kral, my father, not in this creepy pedophile way. Ooh, that's terrible to say, but not in like the creepy, shower time way, but in the like, I think the whole point of it was to see if he could rattle me, because he asked me a lot of questions that I think were meant to like rattle me and they didn't. And I'm like, you're adorable, man. I've been dealing with you since I was like 7. So, I mean, like the whole time, but like consciously figuring out how to handle. But so I don't know, that sort of made me feel a little weird. And then, but then the guy who I talked to last week offered me the job and I just really like him. And, it's remote. The pay is good. It will be an adjustment time-wise. It'll be no matter what job, I feel like, especially if you've been unemployed for the last year and a half, no matter what job you get, it's going to be an adjustment, right? Because like I'm used to doing whatever the hell I want the last almost 2 years now, right? And whatever the hell I want. Like thankfully, I didn't spend this time just like sleeping all day and drinking. And like, I've been, getting up most days at like 8 a.m. and going to bed around midnight. So like I have decent habits. It's just going to be a big adjustment. And the last time I was chained to a desk, I couldn't pursue my dreams because the desk job took so much time. But if I look at it too, it wasn't really that. I wasn't really pursuing my dreams at all. I was like 23 and I had to go to an office every day. Like it was just a very different experience. Like this, I'm like actively pursuing my dreams. This is a remote position. And if I just time it all right, I don't know. It's just going to be a big change and big changes are scary. And Henry seems to not be doing anything but laying next to me. God, his procedures in 1 month. That was another scary thing with the job where I all of a sudden had made up that they weren't going to allow me to do that. They were a little like, oh, okay. And I'm like, well, it's not negotiable. Like that's like, and I had told the guy, I was like, I'm going to level with you, man. It's my cat. And my cat is, this is like a life-saving, I don't know, guys. My brain is it's so funny. A guy who listens to this, hello, Ray, calls my brain. He messaged me once and he's like, your brain is like bees. And I always thought that was really funny. And then I told my cousin about it and she goes, and she talks to me like personally, right? Like not just like hearing my podcast. Like she talks to me, we talk like 3 or 4 times a week. And which is such a cool friendship, man. It's just so cool. It's like having a big sister, but like it's just really fucking cool. I'm grateful for it. But I was like, yeah, someone said I sounded like my brain is like bees. She goes, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because if you look at bees, they look like they're full of chaos, like it's chaotic. but really each bee is like doing a specific thing for the whole as a greater good. Like it's like a very intricate thing that each bee is doing. And she's like, that is like your brain. Like it could look chaotic, but really it's like way more organized than the average bear. I don't know what that means. So I'm sort of all over the map. I'm really emotional today. God, I got to do some paperwork for this new job. And if you guys remember the guy from Seattle that I had a long distance not a thing with that ended a couple of months ago, I think I'm having a hard time getting over it still. And I'm not proud of that because, it's been a couple of months. But then I realized that like we follow a lot of the same accounts. We follow a lot of the same accounts. We have a lot of mutual friends. So even though I actively don't go to any of his social media, his name is everywhere on my social media. Like, cause like, how if you like the same photo, it shows his name. So I don't know how to get rid of that besides unfollowing him or blocking him. And I think I may have to do that just to move on. I don't know. This guy really rattled me last year. He's rattling me again. And I don't know. I got a little emotional about that, thinking that I think that is what the next step is, because that's truthfully how I've gotten over how I got over him last year too, and how I've gotten over a lot of things. You just out of sight, out of mind, just to focus on your own shit. I don't know if that sounds crazy, probably, but and then the new job has gotten me a little emotional just because I have a really big fear that it's going to take up all of my time, and that all of this work I've done towards my career is going to fall by the wayside. And that's just fear. That's just like I said last week, like just do the next best thing. Just do the next best thing is to do this podcast today. I have a show tonight. If you're in Highland Park, come see the show. I'll be posting it on my Instagram. It's out at the Offbeat on York Boulevard, I believe. I'll post it on my Instagram. If you're in LA, come see it. I don't know how it'll be. The lineup is insane. And I'm like, oh, I'm so rusty. I'm so fucking rusty. I just, and the stand-up world right now to me just feels so, I don't know. It just feels, and I don't know if it was always this way and we just took a long ass break and now it's like back in your face, but it's just a lot of like, everything is like, look how great I'm doing. I'm doing so great. Look how much I'm doing. Look how much I'm doing. And then I also know those people that are posting those things are like, not doing well internally. Like I personally know that, and I'm doing a lot of comparing my insides to other people's outsides. And I know that is basically what, are you okay? Okay. Yeah, he looks fine. God, you guys, this cat is, I love him so much. Yeah, a lot of comparing my insides to other people's outsides. And I know that that's a lot of what social media is to, get people to do that, I guess. I don't know. It feels like I saw something the other day that was like, remember MySpace? That was like the best social media. Because it was like you had your friend, like they have a top 8, but like if your top 8, you were in your friend's top 8, right? Like you never put anyone in your top 8 that didn't put you in their top 8. Like it was just, and then like, you wrote on people's walls. It was just a simpler time. And now it's just, and so I'm doing a lot of comparing my insides to other people's outsides right now. A lot of people are getting a lot of shows and I'm not performing as much, but I also know that when I go out to perform, I end up, making 18 new friends and have potential for like 6 or 7 new shows. Like, I know it's just me not getting back out there, but I'm taking my time. And I think that's okay to do that right now. I need to take my time. It's really scary out there still, with the new variant. And I'm in this long haul COVID group where some of these people who are vaccinated and still experiencing symptoms from the first time they had COVID have gotten COVID again. And it's just, I don't know. I'm just a little emotional today. I thought last night I felt really tired and emotional and I was like, oh, I'll go to bed and then I'll wake up. And usually when you have a good sleep, you wake up and you feel a little bit better. But I know one thing's for sure. When I feel this chaotic and like freaked out about everything and, inadequate and like I'm not doing enough, I know I'm about ready to have a breakthrough, a surrender. And there's like a personal, like an internal turn, if that makes sense, like an internal shift. So I know that like this is just the chaos is the universe reordering my life in the way I want it to look, right? I know that. And maybe I'm just holding on to this dude from Seattle because I'm scared of the next step or the future, you know? Or maybe I truly am this sad. I am sad. I can't explain it, but there was a connection there and I can't seem to shake it. And it'd be one thing to like know that, you know, it'd be one thing if we were like, yeah, the guy just vanished again. And I know that that has nothing to do with me. I know that. I know how this fella, I know how this fella feels about me, this chap. I know how he feels about me. I got, you know, 2 years of text messages and video messages. And I have of like proof. And I know that this guy runs away when he, you know, he's avoidant. I know that. I know all that stuff. So I know it has nothing to do with me. I just know that I'm having a hard time shaking him. And, oh God, and the new job is just really scary. It's going to be, you know, 2 months of training, learning a whole new thing, working from home. I have to get a new monitor. It's just a lot of scary stuff. And I just hope that it doesn't, I don't know. I just know a lot of people that have taken day jobs and then they just stop doing comedy. But I also know that that's not me. I am having that part of the episode where I'm like, do I start over? Maybe I should just start over. I'm really like, I can't tell you how freaked out it is for me when I see Henry breathe weird right now. And we are 1 month away from the procedure, which is going to be a full fucking nightmare. I will have that day. That's a Wednesday. So I will be pre-recording because, you know, the mask mandate's back. We got to wear masks indoors. Anybody else just feel I'm tired? I can't argue with anybody anymore. I don't care. You know, it's really sad. I'm reading, you know, you're reading like counts from ER doctors and nurses, and they're like, people, it's the pandemic of the unvaccinated. And it's just really sad. And it's like, you know, they're saying that like people are dying and before they die, not like right before last words, like that's dramatic. I don't know, but like saying like, okay, just give me the vaccine. And the doctors are like, it's too late, man. I just can't imagine feeling that way. Like the people that I know are the seen on Facebook and Instagram talk about how they're anti-vaxxers are not the smartest people I've ever met in my life. In fact, far from it. The people that have reached out to me about the mask stuff, like even last year, are some of the dumbest human beings I've ever met in my life. So like the fact that they're like, do your research. It's like, well, you're not smart. And the smartest people I know, right? Like, and I know very smart people, like not even like I one of my best friends in my life has his PhD in science. I don't know what he studies cancer, but he's one of the smartest here. Like this guy graduated high school at like 15 or 16. Like he's like that guy, right? And he's like, yeah, get a vaccine. And when I told him about the girl that I lost to COVID, not the one who died, but the one who didn't believe it in anymore, or doesn't believe it or take it seriously. Oh, good. He's just laying here. Okay, guys, I know you don't care about my Henry update. I think most of you do. I think most of you do care about the Henry update. But he was like, I told him some of the stuff she's saying online, and he literally went, oh, you lost your friend. That's it. You got to just cut your losses. She's been radicalized. That's it. Just move on. Because there's no, it's just really sad to me because it's all so senseless and it's so dumb. It's like the party, the Republican Party, who's pushing this anti-vax propaganda message. They're killing their fan base. Like, it's like, well, like, it's fucking maddening. And so now we're back to wearing masks indoors. That's back. And I don't know. I tweeted this the other day and I believe it fully. I don't mind the masks. The masks are kind of convenient for me. I mean, like, yeah, you get to like protect others. Like that's the big one, right? Like you telling me, like if it was like you need to wear an orange shirt every day and you might save 3 lives, I'd wear an orange shirt every day. I know, and that doesn't make me a sheep. That makes me like, oh, I give a fuck about other people. And so I like the mask because 1, it protects other people. And 2, I haven't been told to smile by some idiot for over a year, right? Like if you're a man, you've heard this, and I believe I am pretty positive most of the men that listen to my podcast are not men that go around telling random women to smile on the street. If you are, that's so weird that you've gotten this far, because don't do that. If you are, if you've ever looked at a woman and said, you should smile, or smile, sweetheart, fuck off. But also, don't do that. Nope. Take my word. Just don't do it. We don't like it. One time when I was working at a bar in Highland Park, which I'm at doing a show in Highland Park tonight. If you're in Highland Park, come see me. I don't know how it's gonna go. So, but what was I saying? Oh my God, I totally lost my train of thought. Once when I was working in Highland Park. Oh, right. The smile thing. I was like, fuck, I have no idea. My brain is like, but those are the bees. I was standing outside, and this bouncer, Randy, I think his name was Randy. I actually don't know. I should know, because Randy spent the better part of a year calling me late night. I don't remember. I don't know if I gave him my phone number, but you give your coworkers your phone number, right? For various reasons, not so Randy could call me in the middle of the night a lot. Hey, just thinking about you, beautiful. What are you up to? And I never responded, ever. But so I was outside. This was back when I was a smoker, and I was outside smoking one afternoon, and just, small talking with Randy. And I don't even know if that's his name, but it sounds like it would be. And this girl walks by, just, living her life, minding her business. And Randy goes, "Hey, sweetheart, you should smile. I bet you look real pretty smiling," or some shit like that. And she walks past, ignores us. And I go, "Dude, are you fucking kidding me? Leave people alone. She doesn't have to smile. She has to smile to make you feel more comfortable in the world. Fuck off." And she stops in her tracks, turns around and looks at me and goes, "Thank you." And he goes, "Well, I didn't mean." I'm like, "We're just telling you don't do that. You don't need to know why. When someone tells you they feel uncomfortable with something you are doing, you don't need an explanation. You just go, 'Oh, fuck, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Stop.'" That was my father through and through. My dad, this is weird for you guys to hear, probably. My dad preferred to call himself daddy. Fuck, the layers and layers of fucked upness with that man, but preferred to call. He was like, "Your daddy wants to. Daddy's coming home." And I would beg him to stop calling himself daddy. Beg him. And he was like, "I don't understand what the big deal is. I'm daddy, and that's fine." Like, he would just like, that's it, which is wild, because that man watched a lot of porn and a lot of family porn. I know that because he wasn't shy about leaving it around the house. God, how do I not have more issues? All the issues I have, I tell stories like that, and I'm like, you know what? You should have a lot more. You are a fucking warrior, man. Oh God, but he would be like, "Oh," and it took until I was like 22 or something when finally I was like, "Dad, I am asking you to stop doing that. I have told you my whole life it makes me uncomfortable." And instead of saying, "Oh my God, I didn't like it, hurts me. I don't like it." And instead of altering it to make your daughter not hurt, you double down and do it more. What does that say about you as a human being? And of course, he was like, "Well, I wasn't meaning anything." But he's like, who gives a fuck? If someone tells you, make some. So guys, we don't like to be told to smile. There are like 4 women that'll be like, "It doesn't really matter." Those are the bitches who say things like, "The abuser was always so nice to me." Fuck those broads. I'll say it again. Fuck those broads. "Oh, adorable. The rapist was nice to you. Congratulations." I guess I needed to get that out. So I'm glad about the mask. I don't have to be told to smile all the time. My chin has been the clearest it has been, I think, ever in my adult life, because I don't wear makeup if I know so I don't wear a lot of makeup anymore. And certainly if I'm going to go out in the world, I don't wear makeup from my nose down. When I was working at that bar, a lot of the girls I was working with, they're like, "Oh, I get everyone talks about maskne, acne under your mask." And I'm like, "I don't get that." And they were like, "You don't? Not at all?" I'm like, "My skin is super clear." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, well, if I'm going to go out in the world and I know I'm going to wear my mask for 8 hours, I treat my bottom of my face the way I do before I go to bed. Like I like wash it. I put toner on it. I put moisturize, like I put like night cream on it. And then I go out into the world. So my like chin has never looked younger, man. And so I like that. And then last but not least, I love the fact I get to make faces and talk to myself while moving my mouth at Trader Joe's, and no one's the wiser. I get to be like, Jesus, get out of the way. Oh my God, I hate that. Ew, that guy's gross, right? Maybe people can hear me, but they don't know who it's coming from because you can't see my mouth move. So I don't mind the masks. I just don't understand. My father was the same way with seatbelts. I think I told you guys this. He, like, to the bitter end, wouldn't wear his seatbelt because government can't tell me what to do. I think if the government was like, hey, we put this safety measure in the car, use it if you want to, no big deal. My dad would probably have worn his seatbelt. But the fact that the government was like, this is a law, it's so insane. It's just so fucking insane. And I mean, you just heard now probably why I get so triggered by people who don't abide by boundaries or, you know, speaking of boundaries, I saw the girl the other night that I stopped being friends with who wouldn't listen to my boundaries, and it was fine. That's pretty anticlimactic, but I was something I was afraid of happening for like 2 months happened, and it was like, oh, so that also just like goes to show you a lesson, you know, like how I'm so freaked out about what this job will bring. Like I'm scared I'm gonna have to work from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and I'm gonna be way too tired to do anything ever, ever, ever. And that's me being in the wreckage of the future. That's me making up something to freak myself out. And that with the girl, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to see her. It's going to be this big dramatic blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't at all. We said hi. We had a nice evening. It did suck. There's a group of people that I hung out with on Zoom a bunch during the pandemic that as soon as I set boundaries and they all sort of, well, they started a new group chat. I think they now do it alone without me, but there's a group chat without me and they all talk and hang out without me. And it kind of sucks to lose a bunch of friends, but I didn't lose them. They're still my friend. I'm just not a part of the group anymore. And I don't know, man. That's how it goes. I do know that I have in my life that has happened to me a lot of times where I just lose a bunch of friends because I stand my ground in what I believe in. And sometimes it's lonely and sometimes it's, you know, it's sad, but every single time I have stood my ground and lost friends, I've never looked back and been like, oh fuck, I was wrong there. It was like, oh no, that was the right thing to do. Those people weren't supposed to be in my life. Like, and I didn't compromise how I felt about, like in high school, all of my two best friends became friends with this older girl. And she was like mean to them, right? So they became friends with this older girl. She was like a junior and we were like freshmen. And then they became friends with her and they were like, yeah, we go out with her on the weekend. She can drive. Do you want to go one weekend? And I was like, yeah, totally, you know. And we went out with them. And this girl spent the whole night yelling at the younger freshmen, just like, ew, don't do that. Slam the door. Get me a hot dog. Like, just like, give me a hot dog. I don't know if that actually happened, but like that kind of shit, right? Turn the music down. I'm talking. Why do you guys think you can tell a story? And I was just like, what in the Sam hell? I don't know what Sam hell means, but like, what in the actual fuck are we all doing here listening to this bitch? And I was vocal about it. I was like, why are we letting her yell at us? Isn't it weird? She has no friends her own age, and she promptly told them not to be my friend, and they promptly stopped being my friend. And I will say it was a rough couple of months with zero friends, right? It sucked. It really sucked. I ate alone a lot. But then I ended up making friends with this chick, Catherine, who became one of my best friends in life. We've lost touch over the years, but like, you know, like was one of my best friend in high school. And then I became friends with this other group of people who were just like fun, and this broad Tiffany, who I have never laughed harder with another, right? Like, I should look her up on fucking LinkedIn. LinkedIn is weird. I'm on LinkedIn now. Men use it as a weird way to talk to women. Hi, I know that all of your experience has nothing to do with what I'm selling, but I just wanted to pop in and tell you I liked your profile. How you doing? It's like, fuck off, Craig. I don't know. It's just a weird, I wasn't anticipating that. I heard it from other friends who are on LinkedIn for work, and they're like, oh yeah, it's a new way for men to harass women. It's so cool. But I should look up Tiffany on that. But I got to make friends with Tiffany, and she was one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. But like, so it's always been, I stand my ground, and it always works out for the better, right? It just always works out for the better. And what I'm going through right now with the comparing my insides to other people's outsides, I'm doing, especially with comedy. There's a lot of people that started after I did, or started with when I did, and they're further along in comedy than I am. And that's not, that's fine. We have different career trajectories. Like we have different, most of the people that I feel that way about are just comedians. And I don't mean just comedians, but that's what they want to do. Like that is where they want to go. They want to tour the world telling jokes. And that's not what I want to do. I wrote a book. I have this. I'm doing voiceovers. The next step is I think I'm going to write a dramedy based on Confessions of a Recovering Party Girl. And not a sitcom. I think it's more of a crazy ex-girlfriend, like 42-minute like dramedy. You guys know what I'm talking about. I haven't told anybody that. So I guess I told all of you, but you know what? Like, it's just like comparing other people's insides to your, or other people's outsides to your insides. And that's what I'm really struggling with lately. And it's not only that, like, I don't know what they're going through behind doors. I know there's one guy that I've been really doing that with a lot during the pandemic, but then I looked at it deeper, and I know that he didn't really quarantine very much. I also know that like there's psychological, like I know that I am working, like I can't do his inventory, right? So I'm not going to sit here and do that, but I just know that we are very different paths. And I know part of my path is healing the shit that happened to me as a child, so I can go out and heal other people. You guys, I think I've told you one of my biggest dreams is to Tony Robbins style in a like stadium, Tony Robbins style shit, help people who've been sexually abused. But I got to heal mine first. Mine's close to being healed, I think. I mean, who knows? Every time I think it is, a whole new layer comes about. It's like, oh, cool. I forgot about that. That happened too. Thanks, Tom. Glad you really did it, huh, man? But like, part of my life dream and goal, I have to do a lot of internal work, which is isolating. So I'm just kind of in it right now. I'm really scared about the future. I'm trying to stay out of the wreckage of the future, take it one day at a time. Because there could be, this new job could be the unicorn job I'm looking for, right? The remote job that like funds my dreams. And I can do, many things that I haven't been able to do because bartending has a cap. Yes, when you bartend, you can make a lot of money, but it's more often than not, you make the average, like when you work at a good spot. And this, I haven't tried it yet. So we're trying it. I'm just a little scared. But I know it's a matter of time before I think my shit's too good. I think I'm talented. I think I'm funny. I think I'm genuine. This has now turned into a pep talk to myself about how it's all going to be okay. I was reading this thing where, oh God. Okay. So there are two things. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you guys, but it's two of the funniest things in my life that I have heard or seen. So I worked at that sports bar, Big Wings, right, for a really long time. And there was two types of customers. There was not really any in between. It was either like really fucking awesome people, right? Really fucking awesome people, or just the bottom of the barrel, horrible people who think it's okay to go into a packed bar on a Lakers night, take up like a seven-seater and only have two of you at a massive table, order one beer and tip nothing on that beer after sitting there for 7 hours. Like the bottom of the barrel, awful people, right? Or really awesome people. So, and North Hollywood Big Wings was like way worse. Everything I've been told, it was like way worse how the clientele was, right? So My manager, Rob, one time told us that he was working at Big Wings in North Hollywood and there was a Laker game. And this couple comes in. So like there's rules. They eventually like implemented rules where it was like you have to, it's a $20 minimum per person per game. People got so upset about that. It's like, you can't sit at a restaurant, just watch a game and not buy anything, you fucking idiot. They're like, that's again against my rights. It's not. This is a private business. You need to spend money here or you need to go. It's called loitering. Oh God. Everyone always asks me why I don't talk more about Big Wings on stage, because I think I'm still mad about some of this shit. And unfortunately, there's a double standard in comedy that if you're an angry woman on stage, it comes off as scary and not funny. Every female comic I know will be like, yeah, unfortunately. But so this one night, and then it was also like four tops, there had to be 3 or more people. Like there was like signs that were like, this is a table for 3 or more people, will be enforced. And the amount of times that people would try to fight that, where it's like you walk over, there's 2 people at the 4 top and you're like, hey, it says 3 or more, are you waiting on someone? And they're like, no. And it's like, well, and they're like, well, now the restaurant's filled up. And I'm like, well, that's not really my fucking problem, is it? Because you didn't read the sign. I will say one time there was an exception, and it's a really cool exception because this guy's career is like blowing the fuck up. And it's football Sunday, and football people are way different than most of the big, like football Sundays were like regular people that were just like good people. Right. And but we had the signs, and I walk up to a table in my section and there's these 2 dudes sitting at the table and it was 3 or more. And I was like, hey guys, are you waiting on a 3rd one? And they're like, no, but we will drink enough for 3 people. Please let us stay. And I was just like, and I don't know what it was that day. They seemed nice. I'd seen them a few times coming into Big Wings. I'd never talked to them. And I was just not in the mood to like argue with 2 dudes. I was just like, all right, well, if you don't, then I will be really mad. Like, I'm like, there's nothing I can do, but I don't feel like arguing with you. So fine. So then these 2 dudes not only did drink a lot, and not like in a sloppy, fucked up way. They just, they drank enough. And then they also tipped me well over 20%. I started saving them seats every Sunday because they tipped well. They were pleasant to have. Like I could sit down with them, like whenever I needed a moment, like, whenever I had a break, I would just like sit with them and we talk, we shot the shit. I started to get to know them. And then, I don't know, I'm going to say like mid football season, 2nd year, something like that. I don't know. It was a while after knowing these guys, right? I'm sitting down and talking to them. And then I go back over to the waitress station or I go over to a table. Someone asked me, they're like, are you friends with that guy? And I was like, oh yeah. They're regulars. They're really great. I love them. We, we're buddies. And they were like, you know that guy? And I'm like, yeah, Sam's great. And Sam Richardson, at the time he was on Veep. And they were like, he's on Veep. He's fucking hilarious. I was like, he is? And they're like, yeah. And I go and I sit down and I was like, Sam, are you famous? And he goes, no. And I'm like, are you on TV? He goes, yeah. And I'm like, you're on you're on a TV show with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? And we had a good laugh about it or whatever. And it was just like, I can't believe I didn't know this whole time. And he continued to sit on my seat. We follow each other on all the socials. And this fucking dude is now one of the lead characters on, I cannot remember the Amazon movie, but it's like one of the biggest movies in the world right now. It's the movie about like the simulation into the future with Chris Pratt. I think that's what I've gathered from the whatever. But it's just I will get back to the funny story about Rob, the manager. But like I will say that there was exceptions to the rule, and I ended up meeting up a lot of really cool people, including that guy. And so Rob, okay, so we're back to Big Wings, North Hollywood. Rob, this couple comes in and they sit down at 4 Top. And they have coffees from like the Coffee Bean or some shit from down the street, right? And they come in and they're like, they go and they sit at a 4 Top with their coffees. The waitress comes over and she's like, hi guys, welcome to Big Wings. Like whatever you say, right? We had to do that all. Hi guys, welcome to Big Wings. My name is Kim. I'll be your waitress. I hated it so bad. And I did it so awkwardly where it ended up making people shake my hand and I had to meet everybody. And I just didn't know how to just like seamlessly doing it. I'd be like, hi, I'm Kim. And then they'd all stare at me and we'd stare back and they'd be like, I'm Josh. I'm Jeff. And I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Kim. God, I can't believe. And then I got really mad at the owner. I was like, I fucking hate this. I have to shake everyone. You're like single-handedly, you're making me shake like 45 hands a night. And he goes, well, how? And then the bartender goes, well, how do you say it at the table? I'm like, I go, hi guys, welcome to Big Wings. I'm Kim. And he goes, and you don't say anything else? I'm like, no, I give him a minute to say hi. He goes, yeah, that's why they're all introducing themselves. And I was like, oh, so once I started being like, I'll be your waitress. What can I get you guys? Like no one, whatever. Anyway, so waitress goes over and she's like, hi guys, I'm so-and-so. I'll be your waitress today. Can I get you guys something to drink? And they were like, no, we're good. And she was like, okay, well, just so you know, it's a $20 minimum per person, per table, per game. So I'm going to leave the menus here and I'll come back to get your drink orders in a few minutes. And they were like, they didn't say anything. She walks away. She comes back a few minutes later and she goes, hey guys, did you guys have a minute? Like nice as fucking pie. And according to Rob, this is like a sweetheart waitress. I get it. If you've ever been to North Hollywood Big Wings, there used to be some really shitty, mean waitresses. Same with Hollywood. I don't know. It was a hard job. We like when I worked at, if you ever look back on you're like the service at Big Wings was sucked. If you have ever said that, I will tell you right now, the shit the waitresses and the bartenders had to put up with there. I've been spit at. I've been mauled. I've been kicked. One time, a couple of times, a gun was pulled on me. We went through shit. And then we had to deal with your ass being like, I'm not paying 25 cents for an extra ranch. Fuck off. Pay it, right? So like, if you ever a person is like, the service at Big Wings was really bad, fuck you. Like we had to deal with so much. And then on top of that, we most of the time had managers who wouldn't have our back. Rob is an exception. He always had our back, but it would just be like, don't upset them, because then they'd make a Yelp review and then the owner would get mad at them. And it's like, but the Yelp reviews are bullshit, by the way. Bullshit. Like I am on some kind of rant. I promise you I'll get back to the couple because it's so good. But I was bartending one time at the nightclub before the world ended. And these two girls come up to my bar manager and I, who's also bartending, and they're like, can we have 2 blowjob shots? And like, you never really make blowjob shots as a bartender. Like maybe you do if you work in like some podunk town in the middle of Colorado. No one orders that shit, right? Like no one does. And so we were just like, no one orders that shit. We just, my bar manager goes, oh yeah, we can do that. I don't remember what's in it. And she goes, Kim, do you remember what's in a blowjob? And I was like, I don't know. It's like whipped cream and like Bailey's, I think. I don't know. So we were like, okay, we're going to look up the shot, right? So bar manager pulls up her phone, looks up what's in the shot. And it's like, okay, it is whipped cream. We have all that ingredients. I'm going to go look for whipped cream because we don't keep it behind the bar because no one orders a fucking whip, whatever. So she's so nice. And by the way, this manager was a little bit of a salty woman. And I don't mean that in a shitty way. She just wasn't like, I'm going to suck everyone's dick so they like me. She just was like, I'm a person who is allowed to exist without people pleasing, right? I respected the fuck out of that broad. But she was being very kind. She was like, oh, we actually don't have whipped cream behind the bar. So I think we have it in the kitchen. I'll go check, right? We don't have anything that has whipped cream on it in the club, right? So she's gone for a little bit, comes back, finds whipped cream. And she goes, oh, I found it, whatever. So she pours the shots and then pours me and her one without the whipped cream. But we were like, oh, we want to try what does it taste like? It's been 20 years since either one of us have had the shot. So we do the shot or whatever. And the girl's like, thank you. And then she comes back with the shot glass and there was a crack in the shot glass. And she does the shot and there's a crack in the shot glass. And she's like, oh my God, there's a crack. And my bar manager was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I missed that because I'm a goddamn human being. I'm not a robot, you psycho. But she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I missed that. I won't charge you for those shots. I'm glad nothing happened when you drank out of the glass or whatever. I'm so sorry. And the girl was like, that's okay. Thank you so much. And then they left. And that was the end of the exchange, right? That's it. I watched the whole thing. She won. And this bar manager and I have been known in our bartending career to get complaints for not being overly friendly, right? Fuck off with all that, right? If you have nothing better going on in your life but to complain that the bartender who's just trying to make a living or anybody is just trying to, well, I'm on a rant, but we're going to keep going. When I worked at Target, I promise you, like I said, this is like bees. We'll get all the way back in it. So just follow with me. Stay with me. When I worked at Target at 16 years old, I got a complaint one time. My manager came up to me and she was like, you didn't ask one of the customers how they were doing. And I was like, what? And she's like, there was a woman that came up and complained that you didn't ask her how she was doing. And I didn't even think. I just said, wow, how sad for that lady. My manager goes, what? And I'm like, just what a bummer that it upsets you enough to make a complaint that the 16-year-old cashier doesn't care about how your day is going. What a sad lady. And my manager was like, what? And I was like, I mean, I'll ask everyone how they're doing, but we're on the same page, right? That's really sad. I have not been asked how I'm doing by many people in my life, and I'm cool, man. I don't care. But like, so that girl went on Yelp, the job shot girl went on Yelp. So like a week later, the manager pulls me and the bar manager aside and is like, you guys got a really bad Yelp review. And we were like, what? No, just the bar manager got the really bad Yelp review. It was like, you got a really bad Yelp review. And she's like, for what? And then I was like, bring Kim over here. I'll tell you exactly what happened. The girl went to Yelp and said, I asked for a blowjob shot because it was my friend's 21st birthday. The bar manager, I guess she was the bar manager, looked super annoyed that she had to accommodate us, had no idea what was in it, and then stopped mid-sentence and started texting someone. Then she disappeared for like 35 minutes, came back, and then gave me a broken shot glass and didn't even give a fuck that it was broken. We were like, that is not even kinda what happens. It's just like Yelp is so stupid because you get to go on and do your narrative that usually isn't at all. So don't listen to Yelp is what I'm saying. So anyway, we're back at Big Wings. So this girl comes over and she's like, she's still being really nice. And she's like, hey guys, are you ready to order drinks? And the woman was like, no. And she's like, okay, just to remind you again, it's $20 per minimum per person. Or a minimum per person per game. And the woman just like looked at her and was like, okay, we're not ordering. And the girl was like, all right, I'll come back. So then she goes over to the manager, Rob, and she's like, this is what's happening. I don't know what to do. The place is filling up. They're taking one of my biggest tables. I need to make money tonight. They're not going to buy anything. And if they do, they certainly won't tip me. So can we get them to either leave or buy something, right? Like follow the fucking rules. Or I will just never understand people who are like, I'm not tipping. Oh, it's just you garbage human. So like be a human, right? So Rob goes over to this table. Oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. He goes over to the table and he goes, this is like way too built up. So I hope you guys are thinking it's good. So he goes over to the table and he's like, hi guys. he was like the nicest dude. He's like, hi guys. I'm the manager here and we do have, it is filling up. It's a very busy night for us. So there are a lot of people that are waiting for tables. If you're not going to order anything and you're not going to have someone join you, unfortunately, we're going to have to ask you to leave. Like we can't have you watch it. It's just so like the level of like poker face, I guess it is, that it had to take him from not to be like, you fucking idiots, you got to order something if you're going to be in a restaurant. You can't just sit and watch the game, you fucking idiots. But he's like, unfortunately, we're going to have to ask you to leave if you're not going to order something. And the woman looks at him and smiles and goes, what's your name? And he goes, oh, I'm Rob. And she goes, yeah, fuck you, Rob. Fuck you. And he was like, and when he told us that, we were like, oh, we laughed so hard. I want to say that to someone so bad. Somebody comes up to me and they start talking shit about the Broncos or something. And you're like, I did do this once at a bar after I heard about it. And it was really funny. And everyone laughed really hard. And I think that bitchy woman. But then someone came over and talked about shit about the Broncos and like, go Pats or whatever. And I was like, what's your name? And he was like, I'm John. And I was like, yeah, fuck you, John. And everyone laughed. So it's a great comeback. But Rob then was like, all right, I'm going to have to ask you to leave now. Now you got to go. Now you're done. Now, that's all she wrote, friends. What's your name? Yeah, that was a lot of stories leading up to that little thing. And then another funny thing that I think about all the time that happened at Big Wings. It's not as big of a story, but so we used to have these long beer pong tables, and this guy came in one day, and he was a Michigan State fan, so he was always in. We had a lot of Michigan State people that would come in, but he wasn't like one of the main ones where you like, because like we had a lot of groups come in and you became friends with like the leaders, but like the main ones, right? There's always like stragglers that would just sort of sit on their own or like hang out, but not whatever, right? But so I didn't really know him that well. But one day he came in and it wasn't a football day. He just came in on a random day and he sits at one of these tables and he sits and he gets this big beer and he has this notepad And he had there, you could see there's like one, and I'm not his waitress, by the way. So you could just see like he's intently staring at this blank page, except for one line written at the top, right? I mean, for a while, like to the point where we're all sort of watching him, like, what the fuck is that guy doing? Like he's sipping his beer and just staring at a blank page for like 45 minutes. I'm talking a while, not like if he was just writing and whatever, we wouldn't really probably think much of it, but we're like, what the fuck is he doing? And he was already sort of one of the weirdos too. Like he already was like weird. And so we're like, what is he doing? And then, so I'm like, I got to find out what's on the top of that page. I need to know what the fuck is on the top of that page. So I casually walk by just to see how he's doing, right? I'm not his waitress, but I go over and I'm like, just want to check on you. Do you want any food or anything? And he was like, no, I'm good. And then I glanced down and on the top of his page, he had written action movie ideas. And I know it's like good for him. Maybe that's how he's brainstorming, but it was just so, I think about it all the time. I wonder whatever happened to that guy. I think if I don't see people for like 5 years, I assume they're dead. Yeah, that was a long lead up to two story. I feel like the middle stories. You probably want to know when I had the guns pulled on me at that place. That like when the fights would break out there, this is what I would do. Anytime there was a fight, if I was waitressing or bartending, either one, I would put all of my stuff down and then I would just walk outside. I would walk outside and hang out at the end of the parking lot. And my manager one time was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not getting punched or shot for big wangs. Like, I'm not going to be standing. I'm not going to have a glass flying. And like, I've had enough physical injuries here to know that when shit happens, you just walk outside until it's over. And so one time I was standing outside, not during a fight, but I was like talking to Bouncer Steve and we're, chatting or whatever. And this guy is like yelling into this woman's car, right? And he's like, get out of the car, which is super scary now when you're thinking about it years later. And she's like, go away, John, go away. Every fake person in my life, like if I don't know somebody's name, I'm not creative. They're all John. Get out of here, John. And then he's like, whatever, fuck you. And then he walks up the curb and then trips onto the sidewalk and a full-blown Glock just falls out onto the sidewalk, this big gun. And Steve and I look at the gun. The guy looks at the gun. Then we all look at each other and he just grabs the gun and puts it in his pants. And I look at Steve and I'm like, I'm going to go inside. He goes, yeah, go inside. And so it wasn't pulled on me, but it was there. And then another time, this one wasn't pulled on me either, but technically, so one time this girl, Courtney, and I were bartending. And this was when the bar, if you know Hollywood at all, the bar is the way it is now. So it's in this big main room. And we were facing these big windows, right? There was like some wet t-shirt contest or some stupid shit going on that was behind us that night. Like we had something that was raising money. I don't remember. We had to do shit like that all the time where it's just a fucking shit show of a place. So it's going on behind us. So no one is standing behind us. Everyone is standing in front of us with their back to the window, right? And so Courtney and I are bartending and we look up and we both look up and I'm like, are you fucking seeing this? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, let's go wait in the office. She goes, yep. Like 15 cop cars all pull up in the parking lot of Big Wang's and draw their guns into the window of Big Wang's. And no one knows except Courtney and I. We're like, we're just going to go wait in the office until this pans out. So we go in the office and the manager, Marco at the time, was like, fucking that guy. He was like, he's like, what do you guys think you're doing? And we're like 40 cops are out in the parking lot, their guns drawn, pointed into Big Wang. So we're going to hang out in the office until that, whatever that is, clears up. And he's like, no, you guys need to be back at the bar. And both of us are like, fuck off. We'll be in the office. Let us know when that clears up. You can go bartend with all the guns pointing at you if you want, you fucking lunatic. Turns out that two people were on the run from the cops and they had pulled into the Big Wang's parking lot and were on their knees with their hands up. So that's what that was, but it's still scary. And the mauled and the kick, I was actually mauled and kicked. There's this girl that we were all talking one night years ago and she had just come back from Brazil during the World Cup. And she's like tiny blonde girl. And she was like, yeah, the last day I was mugged. And we're like, what? And she goes, yeah, well, the last day I went to a game and then I was going directly from the game to the airport. So I had a backpack and all of my belongings in there, including money and passport, which is really dangerous. American in Brazil, little blonde girl by herself. It's like, of course you got a bullseye on you. But so she said she's walking out of the game and she sees two guys circling her, right? And so she's like, all right, I know what this is. I'm going to get mugged. And one of the guys walks over and grabs her backpack, and she just instinctively grabs the straps of her backpack and screams, "Oh, hell no," and then throws herself to the ground, which in turn throws the guy to the ground. Then she jumps up and starts kicking him, and then the other guy runs away. And all the Big Wangs girls, as she's telling that story, we're all like, yeah, that's a Big Wangs education, man. You learn to be that aware and that fucking, because we had to be, like, the amount of times that you had to like think on your toes because it was so dangerous. There was a guy that used to come in there, big ass dude, big black dude, come in all the time, and he would pay with pennies. And he was so rude and so awful, right? And he was just gross and awful. And he was like, and you knew that guy only was paying with pennies because like it wasn't like a before you come at me and be like, maybe that's all he could afford. No, I promise you, we served everybody. You knew the homeless from the like assholes, right? And we served a lot of homeless because we were like a bar that was like, yo, if you have a buck, we'll serve you, right? So you knew the difference between this guy was just a cunt. So we all wanted to get, and he was so disrespectful, so awful. And we were like, and I can't remember what happened, but we finally had enough on him to ban him, right? Like, be like, you can't, like, and you would think, well, why wouldn't you just ban him? Because we didn't have a lot of managers that had our back. And the establishment as a whole was like, well, don't, like, your personal safety or benefit is not our concern. It's making money. So, I mean, it was just a shit show of a place to work, right? And so one time I was bartending by myself. It was during the day. I had no waitress, no barback, and the manager had just left, right? Just to go to the bank or whatever. So I was alone in a full restaurant, and this big dude comes in. And when I say big, like, I'm 5'11". This guy was like, I don't know, he was like at least 6'5", right? Huge dude. Comes in and he's like, yo, I want some wings. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, man. You already know this, but we've banned you. You're not allowed in here anymore. And he's like, I'm not. What are you going to do about it? And like puffs up his chest. So I was like, I got to think on my toes. I'm not serving this guy. And I knew there was a full room of people in the other room. So I walked out because like the bar room is in the back where you bartended, where the old school Wangs. And so I walked out from behind the bar and I was like, I am not going to serve you. And he puffed up again. And then I walked into the room where there was a lot of dudes and loudly said, sir, you're not allowed in here. You know that. I'm alone in this bar. Please don't make me call the police. And he was like, what? And as he said that, like 7 dudes at their table stood up, and the guy looked at all the 7 dudes and then he left. And like, that's a Big Wangs education. I didn't know to do that shit before. Like, Big Wangs, I think everyone should have to work at a fucking place like that, because like, we all didn't get along, all the waitresses and bartenders. We all had our own beefs or whatever. Like, it was, you know, it was a place that not only was like young women, but it was also designed to get us to hate each other, right? It was like managers would do that where it was like, well, so-and-so is bad, so we're going to make sure she doesn't get shifts. Like, it was just a high school, you know? And so it was designed to kind of make Mean Girl High, but all of us, even if we don't get along now, we have a special bond. And a lot of you ladies listen to my podcast now. And I think, thank you. Hi. Hello. But like, I think you all can agree that place was like designed to make us kind of not like each other, or kind of like form cliques or whatever. But all these years later, even if we don't keep in touch or we didn't care for each other back then, we have like this bond that we literally were in the like throes of this wild environment that was like, you were in danger a lot, and you had to like, and like, there were times, like, I remember one time I was behind the bar by myself on a Saturday. It was just me and the manager, a party bus shows up of like 70 people. And normally the manager would be like, fuck, all right, I'll hop behind the bar and I'll help you bartend this. He looked at me and went, and if you all, I will not say his name. He even knows if he listens. He even proudly would be like, yo, I did that shit. And every girl, text me, ladies, if you listen to this, text me and make your guess. I bet you know exactly who it was. He looks at the bar, he looks at the full party bus walking in, and he laughs and goes, I'm going to the bank. Good luck. And I was like, you're going to fucking leave me? And he goes, you're fucking right, I am. And left me. And I handled it. And like you handled it. I did fine. You know, like after the initial getting everyone drink frantic or whatever, then they were like, you were really good at this. And it's like, yeah, maybe if you're going to bring 70 people into a restaurant on a random Saturday, call them. But I ended up making like $400, $500 that day. So it was cool. But that was, I was working at the nightclub, the Korean nightclub 2 years ago, right? And one night it was just me behind the bar and a similar thing happened. And all the servers didn't know how to bartend. And they were like, "Are you going to be okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I worked at Big Wings." And it wasn't just like, not everyone got their drinks first, but there was one girl who was frantically waving her arms at me like a crazy person. Read the goddamn room. And I went over and I was like, "Ma'am, if you keep waving at me, I'm not going to help you." And she's like, "We've been waiting for like 7 minutes." I'm like, "First of all, you haven't been waiting 7 minutes. You got here 5 minutes ago. Second of all, there are 40 of you waiting to get the same drink. So I'm going to help the people who are being patient." She goes, "I'm going to get another bartender." And I was like, "Well, there's not another one in the entire building. So if you want a drink, you better start showing respect." And she goes, "What?" And I was like, "Cool, I'm not going to serve you. Next." And she was like, "Ah." And I don't know, it's Big Wings, baby. So as much, that place was wild. And that brings me back to like full circle back to where I am now. I have pursued my dreams while working in a restaurant for a long time. And there was always a cap, right? There was always like, sometimes you'd book something and no one would cover it. And you would just have to say no to this job, or you'd have to be like, "I'm going to get fired." And so I've never actively been pursuing my dreams while having a stable remote job. So maybe I should just expect the best and get it. Right? I think that's what I'm learning in my life now. The further I get in, my recovery and like my self-discovery and self-love, is that the more I expect the best, the more I get it. The better it gets, the better it gets. So like, I'm scared. I'm really scared. I'm scared I might not be good at this. I'm scared I'll get fired and I won't have any income. I'm scared that I'll be too good at it. And what if it makes me want to quit the one thing I've loved my whole life, which is be funny and tell stories? And all I know is, I know those two things. The better it gets, the better it gets. And expect the best and get it. And I also know that I'm always taken care of. Like even when I've been like years ago looking for change in my, I mean, I'm talking like way before I lived on my own, like in my own apartment when I had roommates and shit. And I was, just starting out, like searching for change just to get the last dollar of my rent. Even then I found enough. There was always enough. And now I'm in a place of my life where I'm more abundant than I am scarce. And the more I have faith in that, the more abundance comes my way. And I think the guy was trying to rattle me in the interview, and he asked, "Well, why would you want this job? Why do you not think your career is going to be successful? Why hasn't your career been more successful?" And it's an interview, so I couldn't be like, "Actually, dude, it is pretty successful. I've had a lot of successes. I'm just not a household name yet, bro." But I did say, he's like, "Why is your book not more popular?" And I was like, "Well, my book came out 3 weeks ago, so it's actually doing very well. So got you there, pal." But I think I just, there's just a lot up in the air, and I know I'm not alone in that. I know that like we're in a point in our lives. I think this is something that everyone can really relate to, which is the lockdowns, the variants, running high. Mask mandates changing, rules changing, science changing, the division. Right now we're watching the hearings of the insurrection, and it's just despicable that we have people in charge who want to brush this under the rug. AOC talks about how she heard them say, "We're going to kill her." She has PTSD from that day, and then her peers have the balls to go, "Let's just forget it and move on. We shouldn't." So it's just, I think it's a common thing right now where all of us feel a little unstable and everything's up in the air, and things are closing, things are opening, things are going bankrupt, people are moving home, people are quitting, people are divorcing after 20 years. It's just like, it's not just me having a major shift internally. I don't think. There goes that comparing my insides to others' outsides. Most people, unless they listen to this podcast, probably think I'm doing awesome. I mean, I am doing awesome, but I mean like that I'm just like thriving. I wrote a book and I'm running around. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like the people that don't listen to the show or don't know me are comparing their insides to my outsides. And we just have to, I don't know, remember that it ebbs and flows. I don't fucking know, but the better it gets, the fucking better it gets. And I'm really grateful. I'm one lucky broad. I'm one lucky broad that I have all this opportunity. You know, unemployment's about to end, and I don't have to go back to a place like Big Wang's. And I mean, I am grateful I had Big Wang's, but it was a very hard emotional job, like emotionally very difficult, physically too, but like emotionally really fucked you up for a while, right? So I'm grateful I don't have to go back to the bar industry, that I'm given this opportunity that may fund my dreams more than I can ever imagine. And my book is doing well. If you haven't bought it yet, I would love it if you did. You can get a signed copy at kimkral.com, or you can just go to Amazon and get one. The signed copies take a little bit longer to get to because I have to order. I'm ordering the author book in bulk. And I guess if you get one on Amazon, it's here the next day. But if you order in bulk, they're like, in 2022, you'll get your 10 books. I'm just kidding. The bulk is coming next week. But and then I'll send it all out. So get your signed copy if you want one. You also get a bookmark, and I'm really proud of that bookmark. It says, "You've either pooped your pants as an adult or your time is coming. Stay awkward and awesome." I'm really proud of it. I think it's my favorite thing about this whole thing. But yeah, I'm one lucky broad that I have opportunity coming. And and that's what I said to the guy on the interview. He was like, "What if," he goes, "how will you feel in 3 months if this job, what if this isn't what you want it to be in 3 months? Or what if like something," I was just like, "Hey, I can't answer that question." And he goes, "Why?" And I was like, "Because in 3 months, I don't know what your job is. You don't know me. Like, I could not be a fit for you guys. We could be working together for a couple of months and you guys may not like me, or I may not be a fit." And I guess I think they liked the honesty. I got hired, but and it's just, I have to remember that this isn't the only way I'll ever make money ever. I deal with a lot of black and whites in my head, and I have to keep reminding myself that there is mostly gray. Everything is gray and nothing is really final. And it's up to me to not quit my dreams. Like, that's all me. There are people, most comics I know, until they get a staff writing job or they start touring as a headliner, have day jobs. In fact, almost every comic I know, unless they are those two things, have day jobs. And it's just about how much do you want it. And I think you guys know I want it pretty bad. So I'm one lucky broad for all the opportunity. You ready for your poop scoop? I am going to give you the poop scoop that is the opener of my book. So if you haven't read the book, stop it now and read the first chapter. It's in the first chapter. I feel like all of you have bought my book because if you listen every week, you probably buy. Anyway, I have never told anybody this until the book. There is this guy named, I can't remember what I named him in the book. What did I fucking name him in the book? I don't know. David. I named him David in the book. Okay. I was like, I don't want to say his real name. And truthfully, I don't even know if this is this guy's real name anyway, because it's been so long. But I was a drinker, a big drinker. And I went home with him one night and I had a bunch of bar food and tequila and Fireball, which is all just like a horrible combination. And we were making out and I sharted. But I didn't know I sharted. I thought it was just a fart. Like, you know how sometimes some sharts are like, you don't know they're sharts? And then other times you're like, oh, I sharted. I thought that was going to be a fart. And then I pooped my pants. But sometimes you're just like, oh, you don't know that it's a shart, especially if you're hammered and making out with some dude. David went down on me right after that and didn't notice. He went down on me right after I pooped my pants and didn't notice. I don't know how he didn't notice, but it didn't stop him. There was no stopping him. I do wonder if he's somewhere out there being like, that bitch's vagina smells like poo. Like, I wonder if that's out there somewhere where he's just like, I don't know. That guy came back a lot. He still follows me on Twitter too. Like, that guy came back a lot. I see him all the time too. And you can tell he's like, hi. And I'm like, nope. But so like, I don't think that fazed him. I don't know. And I couldn't ghost him. He would not stop sending me selfies. He sent me selfies for the better part of a year. Hey, just thinking about you. But so then he was down on me and it was okay. I don't remember it much. I just remember being like, I'm bored. I'm going to go to the bathroom. And then I went to the bathroom. I put my pants back on and I was like, oh, that's weird. they're like wet, and not like vagina wet, like wet, right? And I went to the bathroom and there's poo in my underwear. So gross. I'm sorry. If you haven't read I mean, most of you probably read my book, so you know that like you're like, oh yeah, we read the book. And then I put my underwear back on and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I pooped my pants. I don't think I've ever told you guys that on Poop Scoop. But I'm out of poop scoops, guys. And I've got too much going on to just be out there trying to poop my pants for to entertain you all. So I need you to send me poop scoops immediately. KimKralspace@gmail.com. KymKralspace@gmail.com. I think that's the show. Oh man, I had a couple technical difficulties in the middle of it, and then I got really worked up over big wangs. I did not expect to talk about big wangs as much as I did, but maybe I'll tell if you want more of those stories. Email me and tell me you want more big wangs. I got some wild big wang stories, man. How many times can I say big wangs? Can I get sued for this? I have no idea. I mean, it doesn't exist anymore, so I think it'd be. I mean, also if you worked at Big Wangs, you are probably thinking that it'd be laughable if they tried to sue any of us. Like the lawsuit. Like I had this guy, dated this lawyer, and every day I'd come home and talk about my day, and he was like a litigation suing lawyer, so I would talk about my day and he'd perk right up like, let's sue him. And I was like, all right, Johnny Law, settle down, no one's suing anybody, I'm just talking about my day. So it'd be laughable if they tried to sue me because the break situation alone. But if you want to hear more big wang stories, there's way more where that comes from. It was a wild fucking place to work. The bitches, the broads that work there alone, man, I got stories upon stories. Maybe when my show was going to go to Dash, I was going to have a segment where I would have a Big Wangs girl tell like a 5-minute story about Big Wangs. And I recorded one pilot. I recorded a pilot episode, and then the guy who ran Dash Comedy didn't like it, so I recorded another one, which I released as Michael Malone's. But I may release both on my Patreon because I interviewed Chris Cope, and it was just a really fun interview that I'd never released because it was the first time I was trying to do like, and you're listening to Dash Radio, whatever, right? But I think I'm going to put it on my Patreon as a bonus episode. Speaking of, if you want to join my Patreon, I would love, 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 love that. You can go to my website under Kral Space. It'll say Patreon, or it's just patreon.com/Kim Kral. Kim Kral. And follow me on everything. KYMKRAL. And I think that's it. And buy my book. Buy my book. Buy my book. A lot of people are really liking it. There's a comic who is just a very delightful, funny woman, one of the funniest in the game, has texted me once a week talking about how proud she is of this book and how proud she is of me. And it just really means the fucking world. So please buy it, share it, all that good stuff. And be safe out there. Be nice to each other. Be nice to each other. God damn it. Just be nice to each other. The world's probably ending in 6 months. So just spend your last 6 months on Earth being cool, soda pop. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.